In today's video, folks, I'm going to show you how to make this delicious, juicy, tender pork shoulder in the Instant Pot. Hello, everyone. It's time for another quick to prepare. It's going to take a little bit longer to cook, though. But remember, for this channel, any recipe that I do, it's going to be easy to make and it's going to taste delicious. So today, for the first time, I am going to cook a pork roast in my Instant Pot. Pork shoulder is my favorite cut of pork. And this is very simple to prepare, and it's going to turn out delicious. So I'm going to go through the ingredients here, and then I'll go over what I'm going to do with it. So I have about a 3-pound pork shoulder right here, bone in. You can use bone in, bone out. I like to cook with the bone in because as it's cooking, that's going to impart more flavor into the meat. And it's also going to help if you want to make a gravy or a sauce afterwards. So a 3-pound pork shoulder. And then I'm putting a russet potato that I've cut in half. And then I've diced up an onion, and I plan on placing those on top of the pork after I've seasoned it, just so that that flavor from the onion will permeate down through the pork. And then here's what we're going to use for seasonings. Now, you can use whatever seasonings you prefer on your pork. I'm using Clubhouse Le Grill pork seasoning. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this pork shoulder with some olive oil, and then I'm going to rub the seasoning into it. Then I'm going to saute it for a little bit in the Instant Pot just to get that browning on the pork and impart some of those flavors into it. Stay tuned, folks. I'm going to get it prepped up, and I'll take you through how we get this made. I forgot one ingredient, though. We're going to use 2 cups of chicken stock, and I'm just going to use a couple teaspoons of OXO or chicken bouillon and a couple cups of hot water. Stay tuned. Prep time starts next. Okay, folks, we're ready to season this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray this with an olive oil spray. So I patted this down with paper towels just to make sure it's dry. And the reason why I'm spraying it, whoops, sorry to nudge that there. The reason why I'm spraying it is just so that the spices are going to stick to it. So we'll get this opened, shake a little bit on there. And I'm doing this on a plate. You can use a board, whatever you want. And then you notice all the spices dripping down below. You're going to be able to put that over, and it's just going to be a smorgasbord of spices that you blend right in. Spray it on all sides. Shake some spices on. Rub it all in. Want to get on here too. All over the pork. Make sure every part of it is coated with this seasoning. And again, you can use whatever seasoning blend that you think, I shouldn't say think, sorry about that you prefer. Everybody has different taste buds, right? What tastes good for me may not necessarily taste good for you. The important part here is to cook and how it's going to turn out. So that's all seasoned. Now we're ready to sear it. So to sear this, you want to have your Instant Pot on saute mode. Put some olive oil or whatever type of oil you prefer to cook with into the Instant Pot and start your saute mode. Let it heat up before you put the pork in. You want this to sizzle when you put that pork in. Okay, folks, I think that's heated up long enough. We'll find out. Here's our seasoned pork. Oh yeah, you can hear that sizzle. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to use tongs, and you want to sear every side of this pork just to lock in that juiciness. So what I'm going to do is leave it for about a minute or 2 on each side to get a good sear on it. Then I'm going to flip it over, and I'll take you through each step as I flip it, but there's no need to keep the camera rolling for 2 or 3 minutes each step. This is probably going to take about 6 or 7 minutes altogether. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, that's been in there about a minute or so. Now what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to take a fork, it'll be easier, is I want to sear it on the sides as well. So I'm going to leave that for a minute or two. So you get the point. You want to go through each side, get it nice and brown, get a good sear on it. So I'll bring you back once the sear is all finished, but you get the point. Just keep rotating it. Make sure that you give it a sear on each side for a minute or two until it's fully seared. Then we're ready to take it out, put it on the plate, and then start deglazing the bottom of this pan. Stay tuned, folks. I'll bring you back as we're ready to take it out. Okay, folks, you can hear that crackling away there. We've got a nice sear on the meat there now. So I'm going to pull this out. Look at that. Put it back on the plate. Now you can see we've got some deglazing to do. You don't want any burnt bits. So this is where we're going to pour the chicken stock in. And we want to make sure that all of those bits that were hardened and crusted on the bottom, that we get all of those scraped up. That's going to be flavor that's going to be injected into this juice. Now, we're not going to make a gravy with this today because it's all about making the pork. But the juices that are left over in here will be full of flavor that you can use to make a nice, nice thick and rich gravy, however you like to make it. Easiest way is just to, if you need to add a little bit more liquid to it, then I like to add things with flavor, so maybe some more chicken stock, or if there's going to be, keep in mind when this is cooking, there's going to be more juices coming out of the pork that's going to be adding to this. So all you need to do is just, once you pull the pork out and all the vegetables, is just keep it on put it to saute mode, and then add some cornstarch to it to thicken it up, and whatever extra seasonings. If it needs more salt, test, and put in whatever you like. Okay, I think that's deglazed enough, folks. So now that I don't have anything on the bottom, we're ready to start assembling this. So if you have one of these things to make it easy to lift it out, then now's the time to put it in. Or if not, just put your trivet in there and put your pork on top of it. Now we're going to put the pork in. I'm taking that, I took that off of saute mode. And then we're going to put our veggies in. So I want the onion on top of the pork. And again, this is just going to, I want the onion flavor to drip down into the pork as it's cooking. So I'm just going to put those onions on top. And that's going to inject some extra flavor in there. Then I'm going to put potato over here. And then a potato over there. So that's not touching the bottom. So you can see why I sliced that in half, just so that it can put in there or fit in there easily. I'm going to put this back on, seal it up. I'll bring you back as we start to cook. Okay, folks, we're ready to start cooking. So what you want to do, you want to first put your lid on, make sure that it's on sealing. We're going to set the cook for 1 hour and 5 minutes. So that's 65 minutes. Then we're going to press start. So that's on high pressure for 1 hour and 5 minutes. So this is going to build up pressure. Once it gets to pressure, it will start counting down from 1 hour and 5 minutes until it gets to 0. At that point, the timer is going to go off saying that the initial cook is done. We're going to let it naturally release for 15 minutes. Once that 15 minutes is up, I'm going to bring you back. We'll crack the lid and we'll have a look at what we have inside. You'll see it at the same time as I'm seeing it. Stay tuned, folks. This is going to be delicious. Okay, folks, the 15 minutes is up. The pin has dropped. Hear that click? You're seeing it at the same time as I am. Watch out for the steam. Whoa, look at that. I fully expected that those potatoes were going to turn to mush, but you know what? It's not going to be too bad. Now notice the liquid level as well. As I said, that fat's going to render off, and this is cooked in its juices. And look how tender that meat is, folks. Look, just falls right apart. I'm going to pull this out. get it plated, and then we'll slice a piece off and do a taste test. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, I'm going to slice a piece off. Now just watch how tender this is. I like the fat. I don't know about you, but I love pork fat. Let me just cut. Look at that. It goes through that like butter. Look at that, folks. Nice and tender. I'm going to let that cool for a little bit, and then we're going to do a taste test. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, so here's what we're dealing with. So I put the plate, I cut a piece off for me to do the taste test. And I got a little piece of fat there too, just in case I want to incorporate some of that into it. So here we go. I've got a little piece there, a little piece with some fat. Let's show you what that looks like. Look at that. That is delicious and so tender. Very, very tender. Now, again, you saw the juices that are left over in there. That would make a delicious, flavorful gravy. So again, that's very simple. All you need to do is switch it to Sauté, let it heat up. It's already going to be hot shortly after cooking. And then put a tablespoon of cornstarch with a tablespoon of water. Start that way and just keep adding cornstarch and water in those ratios until it gets to the consistency that you want. Taste it. You want to add salt to it or any other seasonings, and you can go ahead and do that. But a nice plate of roast pork with some gravy poured over on top of it, delicious. Um, I don't know if I've mentioned this before or not. I know I mentioned if you've seen any of my videos before, I lost a lot of weight on doctor's orders a while ago because of my blood pressure. And pork was one of the foods that I eliminated. Basically, I cut out all the red meats and I started eating chicken and fish. And when it comes down to roast pork is my favorite. When I tried to eat it again, once I got my weight in check, I had really bad stomach cramps from eating it. So I just stopped. And I have only found out later that it's because if you eliminate a food, your enzymes in your stomach disappear because they're not required anymore. So when you try to reintroduce it, it plays havoc on you. Trust me. But I've been gradually adding pork back into my diet, putting bacon on hamburgers, like in small portions. And I tested it out on the video I did, I think either the last video or the one before, where I made some baby back ribs in the Instant Pot. No cramps. So I was good to go to make this my favorite cut of pork. This is a real simple recipe. And again, you can use whatever seasonings you like. You don't have to use Clubhouse. If you have a particular blend that you like that goes with pork, just do as I did and spray it with some olive oil. Make sure it's patted dry first. Put your seasonings on it, coat it, sear it, lock in those flavors, and then dump whatever liquid you're going to cook. Put some onions on top of it and set the timer and wait. Then you've got a delicious, tender roast pork that'll turn out better than any roast pork you'll ever cook in your oven. My only problem with that is the veggies you have to cook separately. Now, you can do as I did. That potato actually looks all right as long as you don't cut them in big chunks or in small chunks. If you cut it in half, I would use a russet potato, not a white potato, because they're more hardier and more likely to hold together. And just do it that way. And then you can have some delicious potatoes that are cooked in those juices. You can also cook it in the bottom of the pan, but I knew that the liquid was going to raise up enough, and having that sling just makes it easy to lift it out. So that takes us to the end, folks. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you're new, there should be a playlist that should be popping up and a video that YouTube thinks that you may like. I'd encourage you to check it out And if you do, then please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you along. Thanks, everybody. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Jamie, 10 thumbs up for this recipe. So easy to make. The work effort to deliciousness is off the charts, so it deserves a Brady score. Thanks, everyone. Jamie, signing off. Oh, look at this piece. So juicy and delicious. I don't deserve this.